My name is Craig Pietig. I'm the Vice President of Ag Products with AGP or Ag Processing, based out of Omaha, Nebraska. My primary role is promoting anything that leaves our plants in a rail car and the exports through the Port of Grays Harbor. This year is a pretty diverse start to the growing season. We've had a wide variety of weather across our growing region that our plants are at. Some were very dry to start and got planting progress off to a very quick start, but then it turned wet and cold for, in some places, 3 weeks to a month before they returned back to the field. So a lot of variability currently in the crops. The weather forecasts do look quite warm coming up here, which the crops desperately need to help catch up. But it's too early to, I guess, give much for yield updates or set your expectations too high. But I would have to say, my opinion is right now we're on track for a typical sized crop, typical production. I'm feeling pretty optimistic at these prices with a typical yield, or if we get lucky above average yield, it's going to be a good year for our farmers and our members. Prices like we have now, it's an escalator up and an elevator down. Once we get past the 4th of July is kind of the determining point on when people decide, okay, am I comfortable in marketing X% of my crop or more than I currently have on, or do I want to hold out for higher prices or wait till I have a better idea on what production will be? So that'll kind of drive the direction in my point. We'll get the planted acreage report out of the way. The acres, once you kind of have an idea what's there, is really not all that important. It's then the production, then you're focusing on yield after that. So once we kind of get an idea what the acres, we start dialing in on what we think the production will be, and that'll determine if prices go up or down. But I do think we're kind of in a period here of elevated prices for a while. Demand is strong. Supply chain logistics are strained right now, so nobody can afford to be short. Prices will set back, and if they do, I think it'll be in a pretty big fashion. But I think at least for the next 6 months, I think prices are going to stay elevated. Right now in the U.S., crush margins are quite strong. We've had a very good soybean this year. Moistures have been very good. The oil content has been very high, which allowed us to run our plants hard right from the start of harvest. Looking forward here, the basis for beans are quite high. The competition to buy beans are high, not only from the other processors, but the export channels have had a pretty good pull as well. Some of it, I think, too, is when you get these high prices, farmers are willing to gamble a little bit more with their bushels because they have more dollars in their pockets from every truckload that they sell, or maybe they're not as excited to sell in big chunks. They sell in smaller chunks, and it's just enough to kind of keep us happy. But as a crusher, you always want more. We don't want to run out of beans, especially with the margins that we've had. Crush plants are running hard. In turn, we need to export the meal out. And I'm really surprised by the demand that we've had in what would typically be our off season, the April through September time frame. I'm trying to have enough beans to make it through the whole summer. That's kind of the $1 million question this year, as the market's quite heavily inverted. So you want to make sure you have enough, but you don't want to own too many as we roll forward and make the transition from old crop to new crop. But the way that AGP is set up as being a cooperative crusher, any money made by us at the end of the year is passed back to our members. So we hope that as farmers or elevators look to get rid of their last remaining bushels, that they look our way rather than the competing markets, to get that dividend check from AGP and invest it back into their facilities, or pass it back down to the farmer so he can invest in his facilities and grow more and grow bigger and better next year. When you look at soybean crush as a whole, it's kind of like a stool. There's 3 legs. You got the beans, meal, and oil are the 3 legs, and if all 3 aren't on that stool, it'll fall over. So we do have the beans this year. They are expensive to buy, but they're available, they're out there, and we're buying them every day. The meal, lots of demand this year, and we've been able to find homes for it, both domestically and internationally. The biggest factor this year has been the market demand for oil. With the expansion in the renewable diesel industry and these new plants starting up, it's a new market for us that we haven't seen before. So everybody's trying to get these new plants running and need soybean oil for their feedstock. And that has really helped boost the oil share of the crush. And historically it's been in the 30s, low 30s range, and at times this year has gotten up in the 50s to 60% of oil share. The oil has been a very important factor to the profitability of the crusher this year.